So yesterday, Solana rallied 8% on the news that an ETF application had been filed. In Monday's video, I shared a Solana trade setup that I'd put in the Learning Crypto Traders Lounge, which has produced some very nice profits that you can see on the screen. In today's video, I'm going to be going over some technical analysis on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and also DOT and AVAX, as they had moved quite a lot yesterday as well. And I'll also go over a really good trade setup that I think could be forming on everyone's favorite Solana meme coin, Dog WIF hat. So let's get into it. So let's start with the news itself. This is an article from CoinDesk talking about the Solana ETF application. So when we look at this, we've got to wonder, how long will it take for this to be approved? If we think about the Bitcoin ETF, there were applications for a spot Bitcoin ETF going all the way back from, I remember back in 2017 when I first got into crypto. So many years to get a Bitcoin ETF approved. Ethereum, not as long. You can see here, VanEck has been known to be a first mover in the space. So they're the ones that have applied for the Solana ETF. So they were the first to file for a spot Ethereum ETF back in 2021. And obviously we know that the Ethereum ETF has been approved back in May. So that took, what, about 3 years? So you're looking at Bitcoin took, you could argue that they were applying for ETFs as soon as it became tradable asset. So almost 10 years. It took 3 years for the ETH ETF. So how long will it take for a Solana ETF to be approved? If we scroll down, there are some comments down here talking about how we believe that Solana will be the next competitor to Ethereum, unique combination of scalability, speed, and low cost, etc. But in terms of when it's going to be launched, my early thoughts are that this only has a shot to launch sometime in 2025. And if we have a new admin in the White House and the SEC, Bloomberg Intelligence ETF analyst James Seyfarth, I'm going to say is his name. So that's one thing we also have to consider as well. We will obviously have the US elections coming up in around September or towards the end of the year. I think it's actually October, November time. So that will obviously have a big impact on things as well, and including the head of the SEC, etc. So is there a chance that we could get a Solana ETF within this year? Possibly, but it seems unlikely. We're probably looking at next year. But even if that is the case, that will obviously be a lot faster than the turnaround we had with BTC and Ethereum. And of course, if Solana gets an ETF, that could open the door to lots of other altcoin ETFs, and possibly even some baskets of altcoins getting ETFs as well, or some index funds, etc., which seems crazy to speak of at the moment. But of course, things move very quickly and things change. So who knows what we could be looking at in 2025. Anyway, let's get back to the charts. Let's start our analysis off with BTC. So not much has really changed since Monday's video. As you can see, big weekly level of 60.5k, which we are still managing to hold despite that wick below down to about 58k. And we are sat right on the moving average 21 on the weekly time frame as well, which we zipped off of back at the end of April. So far so good. Really don't want to see a weekly close below 60.5k, otherwise that would open the door down to about 52. Could be a quick fast drop, and it wouldn't surprise me in the sense of it would be a big sentiment wipeout, big liquidation grab, or liquidity grab I should say. So we'll see what happens with that, but as long as we remain weekly candle closes above 60.5k, I think we are all good. If we take a look at the monthly, we've got not only a weekly candle close but a monthly candle close on Sunday. And I suppose really the only thing you can look at on the monthly time frame is this monthly level here at about 61.3k, which was the top the highest candle closes of the last cycle back in October and November 2021, which we have used as support ever since March. As you can see, all 4 months so far. Obviously this month the candle closed pending. We have managed to close above or on that level. So far so good. As I say, we'll see what happens on Sunday, and whether we get those weekly and monthly candle closes above where we need them. On to the daily, again, not really much change. You can see we are holding these daily range lows of 60.5k, pretty much the same level as the weekly. So again, don't want to see a daily close below 60.5k, don't want to see a weekly close below the moving average 21 and 60.5k, and on the monthly, don't really want to see a monthly close below, I'd say, 60k. So 60k really is that big level of confluence, which we don't want to see any closes below. So we'll see what happens at the end of the week. If we move on to Ethereum then, We'll quickly take a look at the monthly, but there's not really much to go off. It's a little bit of a messy chart on the monthly. You can see the past few months, so not really paying much attention to that. If we take a look at the weekly time frame, you can see we've had a lovely little bounce off of the weekly moving average 21, so that could be a potential higher low here. Obviously we've got these lows from back all through April and May, so potential higher low here to kick us off back up to that 4k level of resistance, which we are yet to break. In terms of the daily time frame, so as I talked about over the past 2 weeks, this level of 3251 was going to be quite important, and we had a lovely little bounce off it on Monday. Now we're struggling to get above this daily moving average 21, which, as I talked about before back at the beginning of June, this level up here, 3679, and the daily moving average 21 was going to be very important. You see, as soon as we lost it, we started trending down, and we've not been able to get back above this daily moving average since. So that is going to be the next obstacle. As well, if we can get above the moving average 21, the RSI 50 on the RSI, then that will be a good sign of strength and potentially start trending up, break 3679, and then we can start taking on that 4k level. But as for now, we need to see that sign of strength, which could come from the ETH BTC chart. So I've been talking about this the past few weeks. Apologies if you watch all of our videos, you're probably sick of me talking about it, but just very quickly, every time, or the past 2 times, we've got a weekly candle close above the weekly moving average 21 on the ETH BTC chart. We've closed straight back below it. Apart from this time, as you can see, nice big bullish candle we got on the ETH ETF approval, and then we've come down and we've retested the moving average as support for the past 4 weeks and held it, and we're starting to trend up. We are above the RSI 50, and we've got a nice green trend bar on the LC trend and momentum indicator as well. And as I've said for the past couple of weeks, take it with a pinch of salt. This is obviously an index, not an actual chart like an asset, like an alt USD chart. But if this was, I would be looking at this as a nice first sign of strength and momentum. And as you can see, we are still trending up quite nicely this week. So something definitely to keep an eye on. If we go down to the daily time frame as well, something I noticed earlier today, you can see this big long trend line that has been intact since this bearish trend line since about 19th of August. So not far off a year-long trend line, about 6 weeks off of a year. You can see every time we've come up to it, we have then rejected, made a lower high. So we're coming up to that now. The meeting point should be around 0.057. So we'll see what happens there. If we can break that, then that might give us the momentum to go up and break the 0.06 level, weekly level on the ETH BTC chart as well, which has been resistance ever since September of last year. So big levels coming up, big decision time. We'll see if Ethereum can take the driver's seat off of Bitcoin and start trending up. We'll take a quick look at Bitcoin dominance. Not really too much to talk about apart from a potentially bearish looking monthly candle forming. As you can see, we've had several spikes up to this sort of 56-57% area. We may start to trend down, especially if ETH BTC does what I think it will. And if we go to the weekly, again, it's an index, not an actual chart, so take TA with a pinch of salt. But this Bitcoin dominance weekly chart, we've only closed below the weekly moving average 21 once, which was back in Jan. Turned out to be a fake out. We deviated, got back above, and we've been using it as support ever since. You can see it's been very well respected ever since we got over it back in December of 2022. You can see it's used it several times as support. That small deviation there. So if we were to break this weekly moving average and start trending down, that could be a big sign that Ethereum BTC or ETH BTC and altcoins could start rallying. So something to keep an eye on over the coming weeks. Let's get into Solana then, and the main thing I want to talk about on the weekly time frame, as you can see, there's this big level of support, or was big level of support at $137. You can see it was support all the way back here in October 21, Jan 2022, then flipped to resistance in March and April 2022, where we had that Easter bear market rally. There was resistance here as well, February of this year, end of Feb, and then flipped to support. And it was support for a good number of weeks, so all the way through April and even in June, until we finally lost it as support last week, closed below it. However, we are threatening to deviate, break back above, and that would be a very bullish sign. We are forming a huge bullish divergence on the weekly RSI, as you can see. We've still got a nice green trend bar as well, and we've pretty much come down and almost retest the RSI 50, which I always like to see in a trending environment. So potential weekly candle close above this weekly level, which would be a deviation, potentially back above the moving average as well, which should all be pretty good. If we move down to the daily, so this was the trade setup that I talked about at the beginning of the video. The reason I chose TP2 here was this was where the daily moving average was, and I thought if this is going to continue to be a downtrend, we're going to come up here, reject the moving average, and start trending down. As you can see, we actually popped above it, but we've not actually gone. We've pretty much come back down to where that TP2 is, so that's not too bad. So this is looking like a potentially good trade setup in terms of we've had the impulse, we've retraced, we're retesting the moving average 21 as support. However, there are a couple of red flags. The first of all is that we have got this divergence forming on the daily time frame, and we could potentially be sort of deviating, closing back below the RSI 50, and we do still have a red trend bar on the LC trend and momentum indicator as well. So a little bit of a risky trade entry here, might be worth a go, but I would be very cautious. So we'll have to see which divergence plays out. So we've got the daily bearish divergence, but also a bullish weekly divergence. Now normally higher time frames do take precedence, so all eyes will be on that weekly candle close to see if this confirms, and then we'll see what has to happen on the daily time frame as well. But as long as we get that weekly candle close back above 137, I think this is quite a bullish setup. So that's Solana. Let's take a look at DOT and AVAX. As I say, they moved quite a lot yesterday as well. Now I'm a little bit gutted about this DOT setup because I've had my eyes on this as a potential trade. I was waiting for a daily close back above the daily range lows for that deviation play. However, as you can see, boom, just went straight up. So rejected the daily range low a couple of times as resistance. So obviously I'm waiting for that confirmation, but then as you can see, bang, straight up in one go. But very much similar to Solana, we've got the deviation, we've got a break above the daily moving average as well. So this looks pretty good. We're trending above the RSI 50 as well. The only thing is that red trend bar on the LC trend and momentum indicator, but I'm sure that will start to turn green as the days go on. So this is looking quite a bullish setup on DOT, especially if we take a look at the monthly time frame. So an important monthly candle close coming up for DOT, as you can see. So there's this monthly range high of $6.27, range low of $3.87, and mid-range coming in at about $5. You really don't want to see a monthly candle close back inside this range. That would be a bearish deviation of the range, and then that opens the door up to potentially revisit that mid-range and range low. So a couple of days to go, and so far so good. I like this nice bullish wick into the range and then closing back above the range highs. That actually looks really good to me. And on the weekly, not looking great. But obviously, more importantly, on the monthly, it's looking better. So start to trend up on the weekly, and that all starts to look good. And as I say, on the daily, looks like quite a bullish setup as well. Let's take a look at AVAX, starting on the weekly time frame. So AVAX dropped out of its weekly range low, as you can see, at $29. Now, what we're looking for is a deviation back inside. So weekly candle close back above $29. Currently retesting it as resistance. So until that happens, I would be a little bit cautious on AVAX trade entries. If we take a look at the daily time frame, so fairly bullish. Again, I was looking at entering a trade on a daily close back above $26, this level here. As you can see, tested resistance, so I'm waiting for that confirmation. But then, yesterday we got the news and bang, it just went shot straight up. So that's a shame. At the moment, you can see it is testing the daily moving average 21 as resistance. So if we can get above that and then our weekly candle close above $29, I think that looks like a very bullish trade setup indeed. And if this does trend all the way back to the weekly range highs, you're looking at a potential 60% trade on that. If we just take a quick look at DOT, actually I forgot to do this, but if we take a look where we're looking at for DOT, if we take a look at the daily, if you were to enter here and maybe use the daily moving average as your invalidation, so a daily close back below that, you're still looking at a pretty nice 20% return on a rally back to the range highs. And then finally, the trade setup that I think could be very profitable indeed if it sets up is WIF. So you can see nice big daily range. So you've got the range high at $4.88, range low at $2.15, and a mid-range here at $3.53. So as I've talked about over each of these assets, range play. So what you want to see is deviation of the range. So bearish deviation is obviously a breakout, then break back inside the top of the range. A bullish deviation is a break below the range lows and then close back inside. And you're looking for that run back to the range highs. And as you can see, that could play out on, I'm not sure what's the best to call it, WIF or WIF, whatever you like to know it as. So obviously, if Solana starts trending up, then WIF is going to do pretty good as well. So we're waiting for this daily candle close back above the daily range lows at $2.15. And also, if we get a daily close above the daily moving average 21, that would be good as well. Of course, a couple of red flags is the fact that we're not above the RSI 50 yet, although maybe we will be if we get a couple of candle closes back above the range lows. And that could also turn the LC trend momentum indicator from red to amber or to orange and then to green as well. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on over the next couple of days. Keep my eye on those weekly candle closes for AVAX and Solana as well, and that monthly candle close on DOT, all of which happen on Sunday. So hope you enjoyed the video. Drop in the comments below what trade setups you're looking for. Do you think the Solana ETF will be approved, and when, and what are you hoping to gain from it? Have you got a bag of Solana, or are you picking some up, etc.? So don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content, and I'll see you on the next video.